Hi and welcome to another video in the RHCE video series. Today's video is on scheduled tasks. This essentially is using Ansible to call Cron to run scheduled tasks. So if you've not used something like Task Scheduler or on Windows or Cron on Linux, it essentially allows you to run specific scripts or applications during a specific time at a specific time, and then have it do that execution without anyone having to intervene with it. So a good example of that, it'll be like a backup script. You may run that at every night at 11 o'clock say, and that will go ahead and back up your system without anyone having to click go every day at 11 o'clock at night. You can have it apply at specific times, or you could have it at specific events. So like, for example, you can have one that applies for at reboot. So you reboot the system and then it's going to do X, Y, or Z at that time. So let's launch into some examples. Okay, so I've just created a cron directory a bit earlier with just the standard inventory file I always use. So let's just do a very simple task. Perhaps just do an ls on the directory and pipe the output to a results.txt file, and then we can just capture that and just see if it runs okay. So let's go ahead and create that cron task. So let's do a vim. Let's call it cron.yaml. Do the usual headings and whatnot. Let's do cron testing, hosts, all. Let's turn gather facts off. And then we want some tasks. And the first task, get directory details and write to file. And it'll be, so it's Ansible built in. We could obviously just do cron, but it's certainly something we don't have to install because it's built into the Ansible core. Okay, we did that. Oh, I need to put the name. So this is the name of the cron job. So run ls and output. We then need to have a minute. So I will set that as 24, and then an hour of 23. And the job will be, and just ls minus RHCE, and then we're going to pipe that to temp log.txt. Okay, that should do the job. So I better be fairly quick and execute this. Hopefully I've written it well and we can execute this flawlessly. Okay, so if we go here and now go to the client, so just do a clear 10.02.8. We can see the task has been written to just a general cron tab for the user, in this case root. So we're waiting for 23.24, so it's in a moment. Oops. And yep, we've got to wait a few more moments before we see that come up. Okay, so let's give it a few more minutes. Okay, so this should have executed by now. And there we go. So there's the output of that directory in which we ran it. So the actual cron tab was, just ls for wherever the location was. Probably the root's home directory, because it would, we should get a similar output there. It looks pretty similar, yep. Yeah, it's the same output. So yeah, so basically it gives us actually an indication of where cron tab's running from, and then obviously you can work out your path variables later on. So let's clear out of that. So that was successful. I guess the next thing we could do is actually just go ahead and test out the removal of a job. So the only thing we need is the job name. So delete this line, delete this line, delete this line, and we need a new line, and we're going to call it, we're going to do state is absent. We right quit, we send it, and we've got changed, and go back to system, do a cron tab -L, and we now get no output. So that's successfully removed that. That's great. Nice and easy one there. Okay. Okay, let's just just going to modify the script.sh slightly. We're just going to get to write something to a file. So echo hello. Let's just echo this hello to somewhere more sensible. Let's do it to root reboot.txt. It's not set an exit value, so reboot.text. So every time it reboots, we write a line rebooted. Potentially could put the time and date or something like that, so we could keep a log of when systems been rebooted. That may be quite a good script to have. So let me do pwd, so it's in root script, okay.sh. I should be able to remember that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and modify the cron again. I'm going to delete this. Okay, on reboot run script, we're then going to have special underscore time, and we put reboot, and the job is root script.sh. We'll see if I've got the permissions and whatnot correct for the execution of that. I don't remember if I did do that or not, so we'll soon see. This special time has a few values we can actually set. So we have annually, so obviously once a year. We can run it daily, so we can just get to run every single day, every hour, monthly, upon reboot, weekly, and then finally yearly. So annually and yearly are very similar, just a different wording. So yeah, that's quite nice. At least that's a nice way of having specific actions run at specific times. So yearly is a nice way of coding that. So let's run the cron and see what happens. So it's got changed and not much else. If we We have an at reboot. That's the special command basically that tells it to run that script. I provided a fully full path because you never know where the exact path is unless you set the variable, which we can potentially do in the next part in the video. So if I go ahead and reboot my machine, we should actually have the Ansible, the script to run this on reboot. Let's go ahead and do this. So I'll give it a few moments to come back up. Okay, the client's back. So let's just double check that the script. Okay, so it was running here and script.sh. So we should have a reboot.txt that says rebooted. So that's worked. So if we do subsequent reboots, then it should write it in on the end of that, another rebooted, etc., etc. So yeah, as I mentioned, you could probably put a time or something clever there. So we could have a log of when the system's rebooted, which is probably a good thing if you're sitting in production. Okay, let's create a variable in cron. As I mentioned, you don't really know where cron's necessarily been run from. Most likely the home directory of the user is running as, but it's good to set a path variable, and then you can specify where you're running it from. So in this instance, I could just get rid of the script component here and then have another task. Set path variable, and then it's ansible.builtin.cron, and then the name is path because we're setting the variable, and then it's env for environment variable. We're going to say yes, and then job. So where's the environment variable? And in this case, we're going to say root. And again, right quit, run the playbook. We got changed. We now have a path set at the very top there. So then we know that any other locate any other executables don't need to have the full specified directory because they'll run automatically from root. So again, I could do another reboot, wait for it to come back up, and that would automatically be done. Here we have life and the system looks like. Okay, so we should have to reboot it, which is great. So that's working fine. Okay, so let's exit out of the client, clear the screen again, and then revisit the cron.yaml. So the next thing I was going to do is, I found a great example actually, was to run yum auto update. So basically to auto update the system. You can obviously again specify a specific time and date you want it to run. And the auto update has the good feature that you don't have to have it interactively prompt, so you can have it just to do everything automatically and completely hands off. So if you want to keep your system updated, obviously there's some risks involved in that, but you could potentially do this. So let's I've got to leave my path variable set as this. Actually, let's set this as user sbin, and then we'll change this to run auto update. But let's also add it into running under etc cron.d. So The current, obviously, we know Cron currently runs in the under the user's context. When you use that Cron tab, -E to edit it and -L to view it, etc. But you going forward, well, the trend seems to be going towards is using etc cron.d and having the files basically stored in there as separate files. So you have this one for your backup, one for whatever, etc, etc. So that means your cron tab will be a lot easier to read, especially if you have a lot of scheduled tasks, rather than one mammoth cron tab. You may have multiple separate files which are easily labeled and easily identifiable. So in a lot of ways this might be an easier way. Don't want a special time anymore. Doesn't matter, I can leave that there. So let's set a weekday and put the quotes on it. So yeah, they're identified with a 0 being Sunday, and then all the way to 6, which is Saturday. So we can set it as, let's set it as Monday. It really doesn't matter, just for this example. We can set a minute. We set a 0, an hour, say 12, so around 12 o'clock. We can set the user, who's going to actually execute this. So in this case, I'm going to set it as root. And the job is, so we don't want it to be interactive. And we're going to run yum auto update. And then we're going to say cron file, or cron underscore file. So we're calling it Ansible underscore. I think it's quite a good idea actually. Then you can know it's been added by Ansible. But you could probably have, you could have anything you want really. But yeah, this is quite a nice way of doing it. So this is the command it's going to add into the cron tab. This is who it's going to run as. This is quite nice with the with this because it's easier to view this way. So you can see it's going to run on every single Monday at 12 o'clock, basically in the afternoon, and probably cause chaos every day that day. So anyway, let's give this a go and execute this and see what happens. We got changed on both, which is good news. So let's go back to the client and our path has changed for the SBin. So it's gone to the normal cron tab. So probably I should have set that in the actual, yep, that's correct. So I should set that in the actual other. Let's have a look at the cron file. So we have a Ansible yum auto update. Did I just ls it? Yeah, I didn't cd in there. Cd ls Ansible auto update, call that's there. So let's do a cat on it. And we can see it's added run yum auto update. And we can see the command line is here. It's running as root. And when it's running, so this is the cron tab time and date settings there. That's, I think that's a Monday. Yeah, this is all months, all years, and the time is set there as well. So what I probably should have, what I have missed, is as you saw earlier in the cron.yaml, I set the environment path and whatnot, but I didn't actually set the cron file. So Oh, I've just done it with VI, haven't I? I don't like using VI in this. It's horrible. Let's go back to VIM. Then I don't have to keep doing spaces and whatnot, which is horrendous to say the least. So I should do cron underscore file and actually select this file because I actually want that in there already. So now that should do the honors. So run it again. It's now saying I didn't specify the user, so yep, rightly so, it's moaning at me. So let's go and add user root. Yeah, I've got to change this time. Notice we actually got an OK. That's such a good point because, yeah, again, it's got some smart Ansibles because we're given a job a name. As long as the job name stays the same and the value stays the same, it won't update it. So it won't create additional lines of the same cron entries every single time and mess everything up. It will literally just do that quite cleanly and do it. It won't update it 50,000 times. So let's go into our system. Let's do a clear again. So we can now do a cat etc cron.d and then Ansible auto update. We now have the path set. That's correct now. So just I missed that entry there, and now that should run perfectly because it's now got the full path. Otherwise it might be trying to look for it in root auto update without this entry there. Okay, so I think the last thing really to cover here is literally just removing the entry we just created. All good things must come to an end, right? So I'll just give it, literally just change, let's make it the easiest way possible. So I'll just do it update there, just get rid of this path variable stuff. And we'll just do a remove, remove auto update. And it's called run auto update, so we just need to change it to make it I don't really care about the job. We just need the cron file and the name. Create a new line, and we then go for state is absent, and then we're going to officially kill it off. Oops. Helps if you run the cron YAML first. We got it changed to be SSH onto the node and clear the screen, and then do a cat. We only have that path because that's the, I'd have to actually also mention the path entry and also mention that absent as well, so we could clean that up that way. Yeah, I hope this has been useful to you. Thanks again for watching. Right now I've just popped up on the screen my TeePublic page. That's for any kind of CSG merch, if that's anything that you're interested in. Got my Ko-fi page for any kind donations, if that's something you're interested in. Yep, and also just the details of my Discord server, so that's the best place to ask questions. Also, we've got, obviously, you can ask questions in the comments and I'll try and help out where I can, but Discord place is a great place. We've got a bit of a community going there, and you can reach out to myself and also the community, and someone will try and help you. Yeah, it's a great community we're building there. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you at the next video. Cheers.